It needs few seconds before they will ramp up in our social media. And guys, hello again. This is a morning live with this day with Martin. Just to remind you, we're having these time-to-time meetings with great people, what I just found around my network, and usually the founders who are doing something great and don't really agree with current state of art, sometimes in retail, sometimes even broader. And I'm super glad to have you, Martin, today, and with a decent experience in retail and especially on the technology side. Can you just a bit drop maybe your background, and
Sure.
the audience will know who you are, and then we
Yeah.
of course will touch today, guys, very interesting topics.
Yeah. So, well, first, thanks for having me here. And it's interesting. We're letting the world see the conversations we have all the time. So, just a little background about me. I've been in tech and commerce for over 2 decades now. Back when Amazon only sold books, and I've done a range of things from working at large companies like Microsoft, building out businesses for them, and obviously at Facebook, which is my last experience. But I've also worked as a developer building e-commerce sites 20 years ago, and I was the first ever CIO at Barneys New York. And in that role, I owned the e-commerce business, but also more importantly, the technology infrastructure across the stores and the company. And what that allowed me to do is see retail from a very different point of view. And I think a lot of that has sparked my motivation for the last 7 years of what I focused on. And most recently, I ran the retail business for what is today called Meta. I still call it Facebook. And we opened up our own physical store selling our smart glasses and VR headsets. And for the last couple of years, I've been on this journey to modernize retail by innovating in physical stores. And I know we're going to cover a lot of that today, but just to give you some background on why that matters to me and why I am focused on that area.
Cool. Yeah, we just got this amazing chat with you before, and I really see that this are changing, right? Those retail space and what Meta does and other guys. I remember like they probably there was even Steve Jobs saying like retail is still physical retail is entertainment. When is never gone, and they were first who start doing those workshops in the stores, saying helping you to draw something, etc. What I think right now still evolving, and yeah, what is your just general perspective? What's the future of just one step back? I want us today, guys, to concentrate more like what is will change in the physical retail,
Yeah.
or of course the era of Amazon, or what is like. I love the Martin your perspective that Amazon, how we can actually benefit, not compete with Amazon on the retails. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is will be our 20 minutes, guys, around this like three topics. Yeah,
Awesome.
what is your opinion about evolution of retail, physical retail actually? Should be
Well,
this became like more entertainment places, or is like just a bullshit what Steve Jobs invented one day?
I'll start with probably one of the things that's been the most disruptive in the last 20 plus years, which has been e-commerce. Um, the commercial internet has only been around for roughly 25 years now, but it's changed a lot of things. It changed what consumers expect, and it's changed where they actually get those things. Uh, what it has not removed is the need for retailers to still build that connection in their brand. And that's where physical retail happens. Like, I have this thing I say internally that trust is a contact sport. It still does that. What Amazon has done a really great job of doing is making it very efficient at buying things. But driving an experience happens in physical retail. And I think for the last 2 decades, there's always been this narrative around e-commerce versus physical store, and that was never the case. We are now in a generation where whether you are they connect with the consumer physically in a store or digital, they don't actually see the difference of that. But we all know from in the background, those two businesses operate very differently and have different cost structures for a retailer. Is what we were talking about before. Is that e-commerce is actually not profitable. I know some people are shocked to hear that, but you can imagine the average sale online is much smaller than in the store. The cost to pick, pack, and ship, 20+% are returned. The economics of that becomes very unprofitable for a lot of companies. And you'll see a lot of digital natives move into physical spaces because 80+% of transactions still happen in a physical store. And
Correct.
there's a reason.
Actually, Martin, I just pick up before our chat that the latest Deloitte, guys who don't know, you
Yeah,
can Google this, is a Deloitte Global Retail Report that is
yeah,
publishing every year. And just to confirm what Martin just said, is $27 trillion total retail revenues. As only 2.7 is online. This is like a
yes,
10%. And absolutely, like the
yes,
margin is thin, the competition is really, really tough. And I always say this is for big offline stores. Online is a channel, as an important channel.
yeah,
As Martin, again, you're right. This is just another point of contact. There's another touch. And but yeah, most sales happens on offline and will continue this trend. There's nothing like huge shift that's saying, hey, people will, even the COVID guys,
yeah,
everyone predict like COVID will change everything. People never go back to the stores. I remember
yeah,
those stories. I was absolutely against. I can't imagine like my wife going online,
yeah,
never. She love because it's a part of her routine on the weekends or there's go shop. This is entertainment. It's like you go to the cinema. Why not anyone looking only Netflix? Even if that
yeah,
you will have all the movies there, you will still need to go physical.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's interesting because e-commerce itself is built for efficiency, not discovery. If you think about how it's organized to help you find things and get out as fast as possible. Um, so there's different ways that people shop. When you walk into a store, there's the exploration of things that you may not have thought of that you start to see. And so there's always been this issue: am I buying or am I shopping? And e-commerce is really good at the buying part of it, not really
correct.
great at the discovery. And you've seen, look, I worked at Meta when we launched Instagram Shopping, because that was an idea of how do you bring ideas to people while they're
Correct.
serendipitously
Actually, I
looking for.
bought my Meta Quest after visiting Meta Shop
Yeah,
because I want to touch, I want to experience that and then
yeah,
decide, And the good
yeah,
news for everyone that, guys, as Martin said, the physical retail is more profitable. It's actually
yeah.
all the profits makes there.
That's right.
And of course, the people in the store, they're less sensitive to the price as well. And just small off topic, guys, like I was in
Yeah,
Target a few days ago and I need to this is a kid chair into my car and I
yeah,
just go to Chica. I was like in Target and I see it like I was ready to buy, guys. Honestly, like I'm in the store, I'm okay. But
yeah,
it was $99, whereas the Amazon price is 29. Same brand, same item. Like, oh guys, this is Target. It's too much. Sorry, guys. I was ready to pay, maybe even 50% more.
yeah,
Like, okay, $80, $79, but not like 130%. I mean, there's still like this gap exists. I think but physical store is a great place to do. You're right.
yeah. So Alex,
Martin.
what you
Mhm.
bring up is very interesting related to pricing, but I'll cover that more largely that consumers like things that are personalized to them, which is pretty easy to do online. Because I can use your user behavior. I can see where you came from, the source you came to. Very challenging to do in a physical store. And I think what's happened now, and similar to what you guys are doing and what we're trying to do together, is like how do you create that type of experience in physical stores so to the consumer and the business, there's a mutually benefit that happens. Because here's the thing I will say about price. Even if it is cheaper online, there's something about I can pick it up right now.
Correct.
And that matters to some consumers because convenience does matter because time is money.
Correct.
Why would you
And
imagine
travel
something?
and waiting or delivery, of
Yeah,
course. The
yeah,
question is like, I like that Martin. Yeah, guys, who doesn't know the Martin working right now on the very cool, interesting company that helps. We do personalizing, like in the pricing, we try to lend the prices as customer, as local, as hype. I call this hyper localized. The
yeah,
Martin technology that helps to actually physical retail to clusterize the stores and having this knowledge like where people shop what and maybe help them to move the items to have the items specific items in that specific location what more tailored
yeah,
to their behaviors to the people who live in this block. Yeah, they don't have like this. And yeah, technology right now helps. Maybe you can drop few words, Martin.
yeah.
What is exciting you right now, what you're
Yeah.
doing?
So the idea of taking how e-commerce works and bringing that into the physical store is really exciting. And I think before now it was too hard to do. Online can be personalized to each individual. That's not hard to do because it's machine learning ready. It's a controlled environment. But when you get to physical retail, there are so many things that exist. You have thousands of systems, thousands of unstructured and fragmented data, and the cost of doing that is too expensive. But we know that creating that experience is essential. And what we are focused on, which is why we keep talking, is how do you localize an assortment to align to that particular region? And then how do you fill the cost by having predictively understanding where the demand will come from so that you can actually optimize your inventory. And most people don't think inventory is a sexy thing. I love it because if I am able to get my products to the customer a lot faster, I'm solving something that they need, which is how do I get the product now? And having stockouts and overstock, it kills the bottom line for retail. And so when you add the pricing and assortment and inventory control together, you start creating something that allows retail to seamlessly operate their physical stores like they do digital. But until now, the reason why that's been so hard, AI changed everything. The cost of getting that data and unstructured data was too expensive. Being able to process that was too complicated. And AI has changed a lot of that. The LLMs that exist now and the ones that are being built are going to make things that seemed impossible possible in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, cool. Actually, I really like this. Is even on my side, we see that in this particular place, you want to get rid of this overstock, but the price would be so insane. You need to run like 70% discount that you don't want, and those items sitting. And best case, of course, these items shouldn't be appear there, guys. I
Yes.
want to just maybe double check that the Martin's technology prevent you to move items to the place where will can't be never sold, which why I spoke with executives, Martin, very often, and when we showing them, hey, this is we model it like thousands of possible scenarios. No way you can avoid this overstock here. So okay,
Yeah.
this is your organism, your algorithm should be more aggressive. Say no, algorithm has no sense. Like the rabbits not buying socks in the forest,
Yes.
they don't need that. Yeah, this is the what you guys should start think about, like how we can prevent moving some items in the locations where they don't really need to show up. And this is what the Martin like working on right now, and I'm super
Yeah.
excited
It
about
is
that.
a $1 trillion issue. Is $1 trillion. And it's not shrinking because as you can imagine, as people start buying from different places, returning products and where demand comes from can be a lot of places, you're going to struggle to really try to figure that out. Look, I witnessed this. I was part of this. Like 7 years ago was the first time, I worked at Barneys and we connected our inventory systems between our web and our physical stores, which today seems simple, but it was really hard when you have, 20-year-old POS systems, inventory systems that
They're
were
still
built.
there. They're still there. No.
Yeah, but what has been amazing is being able to now have technology that allows you to not even have to worry about changing those systems out. Being able to extract the data from those systems and then do the own ETL on our side, like that changes everything. That's why the creation and adoption of AI in retail has been so important because it's going to allow them to get out of this tech debt they've had for decades and be able to innovate because the speed that innovation is going to happen now will happen twice as fast as the internet. If it took the internet 20 years to change how people worked and how you operated, it's going to take AI 10, if maybe 5.
Even faster, I think.
Yeah, and it's just more, it's broadly reaching where there are tons of things that are a benefit to the consumer around customer service, around customizing the experience, but then there's the efficiencies that's created on the retail side. Like if you think about pricing was so complicated to figure out, and it would take us weeks to figure that out. And I know with you guys, it's like we can automate what the pricing should be everywhere with the click of a button. And that just wasn't
Exactly.
possible before.
Same as you said. I like that point. Just to go back that you just said. Technically, with a new technologies like AI native, you can prevent some mistakes happens even before they happen, because all the software before was based on like a waterfall, right? How we plan assortment. We do this 1, 2, 3, 4. In pricing also there's 17 steps. I just wasn't the internal due diligence of the one account, also like very known brand, everyone knows them. Pricing takes 17 steps where also different people involved in each of that step. It takes around 3-4 months for them to plan with this like this huge vast. Of course, we already, when we finish this planning, we need to replan it again.
Yeah.
And this with the AI, you're right. It's like a two thing. First of all, you can do it much faster, simplify all the steps to like 3-4 steps. Actually, we come from 17 steps down to 5 because they're not ready to give up everything. And second thing, you're right, you can work with existing systems, just pull the data out and run those analysis on top. Is exactly my idea. They say you can delegate to machine learning
Yeah.
all the complicated calculations. You don't need to do
Yeah.
there in-house. And most of the software, just you're right, was built that way. Technically, it was business workflows just
Yeah.
computed.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it's sad to say, but is nothing more than automation of the human behaviors and
Yeah.
multi-steps that the AI don't think like that.
Yeah.
And this is a huge benefit from all of us. And as you mentioned, that you can right now say, hey guys, I wish you're here, you should put these items only. Even before, right now, this is reactive, like right now, I wasted, like, we already have these items and we need to do something with them
Yeah.
price wise. And
Yeah.
in most cases, I also can say, guys, or we run 70% discount or nothing here. Like, and this is your technology can prevent from this move.
Well, the rhythm of retail has always been results relative to last year. They buy products relative to last year. And so being able to use recent information is still very hard and very new. And when you think about, the dynamics between e-commerce, which can be very reactive, it's really hard to be reactive in the physical space because there's so many variables that actually exist in terms of like moving physical things. There's paper, the price tags are sometimes physical, not digital. There's a lot of different things that have to happen there. But what we've seen in technology for retail is that there was a big effort, or there's an era of how do you move to the cloud to save money? Then it was like, how do you actually harness all the data that you have? But there was always this disconnect of like, what do I do with it? I always have this saying where data is only relevant if it's used in the right context. So having a
Correct.
lot of data doesn't mean anything if you can't make any sense of it. And now what we're seeing is, which is why AI has been so important, is that you can add context to that data very quickly. And being able to go from analyzing information to execution is basically going to make a lot of what's evolved over the last 10 years almost irrelevant, because you will have AI agents that will be able to automate a lot of things that are now being digitized. And I will look, I won't name the companies, but at Barneys, I had a lot of different technologies I used, and a lot of them were acquired by a larger company I won't name. The only thing they integrated was the bill. I still had every different technology and had someone to manage those. And I think that's going to change dramatically. And that's a
Yeah,
hard change
and this
emotionally,
is
more so than it is technically.
you're so right. I usually, just to summarize, guys, it is Martin, you're so right. I think that there was a huge trend beginning of 2010, 11, call it big data. Remember, everyone
Yes.
said big data, big data.
Yes.
Okay, everyone started saying data. Then it was BI hype.
Yeah.
BI, Tableau grow up there, all these
Yeah.
dashboards. I know, like, also, like, as a part of like big consulting group, we built all
Power
these
BI.
dashboards. We actually charge millions of the dollars for creating the new dashboard. But guys, Martin, I just recently saw, like, it was, I remember how highlighted, but Tableau created on the all lifetime Orwell 10 million dashboards, and it's only less than 0.2% was used, not 2%,
Yeah.
0.2% was used on daily basis. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was huge BI, and I'm still shocked what they see that retail create another dashboard. What still someone needs to look on that. Yes, right now is this time of action. I call the RAS, result as a service. I mean, technology like Martin's technology say, hey, pull this store, pull those items at that store, or pull up that way. You don't need to really look on dashboard and make an action. This is what I will say. The engines is a kind of interface of communication, but technology under the engine agent is actually machine learning. What you said,
Yes.
right? And say, hey, put this on autopilot. Your assortment replenishment, or assortment move, or even pricing campaigns. They can
Yeah.
be done with AI right now faster and reviewed on weekly basis. When I offer customers saying, look, why? And you're right. This is so resonate with me. You said the assortment plans built on the last year assumptions and
Yes.
last year result. But last year, guess what? Was built on the previous year, right? And
That's
when I
right.
checked those gaps, this was 70% accurate last year.
Yeah.
And we're building this year from based on the prediction of 70%. Previous year was 68, 65. And
Yeah.
I saw the customer, they even have a weekly plans based on the weekly plans of the last year. And just
Yeah.
see, okay, last year it was 70% off. Year before was only 40. Great. And this year we plan something what we expect already would be like 40% off. Yeah, with the new technology, just to summarize, you can be more agile. You can really rely on this and optimize on the weekly basis. No need this Yeah, no one can, guys, predict the future. Yeah, and especially if you in apparel business, there's like weather is a huge driver, but no computers in the world right now can predict the weather with high accuracy.
That's right.
Historically, is definitely you can say if they're raining on the street, we will sell more umbrellas. Great. But the problem was planners, any planners. Can you predict with 90% accuracy that rain it would be raining next Wednesday? We just
Yeah.
had the chat of the camera that New York has a 7 seasons, right? You
Yeah.
don't know. It's
Yeah.
still. And why you trying? And then same time retail try to predict in a year in advance
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
all the seasons. Come on, in all the locations. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the good news, yeah, it can help me with that. Yeah, just I want to Martin, just add just a few more questions. So I want
Yeah.
to keep this 20 25 minutes, just
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
right now walking to their work, etc. Let's touch this point. What is your view on the future of retail, like spaces? Do this like would be like more entertainment space, or as a friend asked us, what we can you feel about that future of changing of the physical stores?
So I think there's two things. There's two halves of this. There's what needs to happen from the customer facing part of it and what needs to happen on the back infrastructure part of retail. For the consumer part, when someone walks in your stores because they've already done all their research what they need here. And so the question is like, what are you giving me that I can't get myself? And that's where the entertainment value comes in. Rather that's how your sales associates approach someone, that's the design of your store, that's things you offer, rather it's a lot of people putting restaurants in their stores, places where you create events. People want a place where they can go and connect with your brand and other people in that physical store because that's what I can't get from an e-commerce experience. And so that will matter. And if you look at where people are spending more of their time, is traveling, is having experiences. And so when your store starts to offer that, it becomes more than just a transaction. It becomes a relationship. It
Emotion
becomes a
relations.
place where I actually go and either build community with you or build it with people around me. But it does matter. And we saw that actually happen after the pandemic. And you brought this up before. During the pandemic, no one could go into physical stores. And so e-commerce didn't become 100% of sales. People craved that connection. And we saw more people go in stores, but not all of them, the ones that actually fill their needs. Now, the challenge on the other side is how do you do that in physical retail? Well, they have to be able to take costs out of the business. You have to be better at using data to predictively understand what matters there. And you have to be better at removing the cost that prevents you from creating those experiences and investing in that. And the economics of how you measure the store will have to change over time. That's just a reality of what's going to happen.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely resonate. That I also see there's two things. You're right. The first of all, I definitely see that those Gen Zs and Gen Alphas right now, they are guys, they're very emotional, they're very personalized. And of course, the store personnel, this is our automated personalized feed on TikTok is algorithm automatically based on your behavior, previous behavior, show you the next stuff. Unfortunately, in the store, you need to train the people, which is really costly. But this is where they're going to, guys. I think that people, was interesting research, guys, from PwC does. They say people spend on shopping same amount of time. They really the
Yes.
same. I mean, but they
Yes.
spend less time in particular store. I mean, they want to shift contents faster, but absolutely, this is if you want to keep the people in the stores, you need to create the emotional aspect. They love the people there. They have place where they can stop by, drink the coffee. You always see the app stores are busy. People who like just staying and working there, and it's fine because and it's only. But I think Apple was kind of open-minded enough to
Yeah.
get this space allocated. I just imagine few C-level executives, what I
Yeah.
know are owners of some stores, that I can come to them and say, you have this huge store. Honestly, no one love it because also in the space, guys, the shorter, smaller format of the store, they're more attractive physically right now to the young generation. They hate those huge department stores that looks like they don't feel safe in them, honestly, especially if they have no space even where to sit. I just refer right now for one famous store start on M on Fifth Avenue, where like is a huge floors, and my 7-year son has no place to sit on the
Yeah.
whole floor, just to wait than mama shopping. This is why it should came more like be more entertainment place that we want to go back, we want to spend time there, and this is how you guys we will retain. But it's really hard to sell to C-level, that we need to put off some shelves and get more space to people to breathe and do whatever they want, some workshops, etc.
What I think is happening is that we're now seeing a generation that has a different expectation of what a store should be. And we just have to be able to adjust to that. And that's actually not going to be the same experience across their entire network. A store in Miami versus, Tucson, Arizona versus New York versus, Wichita. There's different values that they add if they're in a suburban versus urban area of what the consumer wants, not just in the assortment, but even in the experience that they want. I am from South Carolina. I tell people all the time, but I've been in New York for most of my life, and there could not be more different in those experiences and expectations. And I think retailers are going to get that right. Because what I don't want to eliminate, and I talk a lot about data and I talk a lot about technology, there's an art to retail that will not die. And the ones that will survive are those who understand how to add the art with the science. And when you have those two things work together, you create something that is an exceptional experience that drives consumer engagement, and they're going to eventually transact with you, whether online or in a physical store. But more importantly, you start creating these loyalists of your product because of your experience that you're having there. And I think, when you look at legacy retail, it's been really hard for them to figure out how to change what that should be because they don't know. And you think it's like putting in we tried this before at Barneys. You put in a mirror that kind of lets you digitally try things on. Those things don't work. You have to fundamentally change how you want to create the experience and use data to inform that. And so when you start using data to help you understand the kind of art you want to put in those locations, I think you're going to start seeing physical retail just create a very different thing in the future. But those who do that are going to be the ones that survive through generations of what's going to come next. Because here's one thing that's not going to change. People are going to buy products and people are going to sell it to them. How they do that is going to continue to change.
I was joking that probably retail is the most ancient business, right? And like people even sell people each other, like beginning of the era, right? And that, Martin, thank you so much. I think it's a great point to finish, that retail will change, and this is not matter like this train is already moving, or you're there or you're off. This is unfortunately the truth. And yeah, just to your point, that if you not change, you will probably compete on price or draw your margin down. And guys, I'm really like, retailers is the biggest taxpayers in the United States, and it's so sad to see that they're all these teeny margins and they try to survive. And as of course, this kind of maybe sounds, guys, counterintuitive for you, that you need to invest in space, make more air, make the experience, and that people want to go and actually spend time. This is definitely, we know that shopping is an entertainment, and you need to just continue entertain in a positive way. If you don't doing this and just try to go price low and try to fight Amazon, isn't possible, guys. You're not fighting with Amazon, you're fighting for 9.1 individual sellers who introduce their products at Amazon. Just keep this in mind. Ask ChatGPT how many individual sellers at Amazon sell, and just say, it's not Amazon, like, I don't know, what very often in media, especially retail media, Amazon position like kind of enemy, etc. No one want to, this is like, maybe it's the next topic for the next chat, like this. But yeah, this is you have the space, you have your audience, and Martin absolutely right. People will always go. The traffic exists. Just entertain this properly, and then you can. I tell you from my data perspective that you can charge more. Of course, you can charge more, as we discussed, but of course not crazy more. And especially if this is balanced with your experience, what actually Meta Stores does, really cool place. I really love this, and you're less sensitive to all the rest because you receive those experiences, you receive those consultants who can help you, explain your stuff. You love this place, and you will return. Okay, awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Martin, for grabbing the time with us this morning, and have a great rest of the week.